This conference will now be recorded.
Everyone, thanks for joining this demo session. So we are planning to have a weekend crash course next week, next Saturday and Sunday, um, for some of the important aspect of the monitoring. Okay? And the people who have joined today, I guess you might be already a performance tester, or might be from a functional testing background. So as part of the performance testing, you might be already doing a scripting, execution, analysis, reporting, right? So people whoever wanted to probably upskill them, right? From a performance testing, next step is performance engineering, right? Where you would be doing all kind of deep dive analysis, fine tuning, benchmarking, troubleshooting the response time problem. All these things are going to be part of the performance engineering, which is an exhaustive subject, and it's going to take a lot of time for you to learn the concepts, practice, and then to be part of the performance engineering team. It is going to have a probably it is going to take anywhere between 3 months to 6 months to 1 year to get started with some level of engineering activity, right? And you also have other streams from a performance tester, from upskilling perspective. See, obviously in today's work, one cannot be just be a performance tester who knows just scripting and execution. He has to expand his knowledge, right? When you want to expand the knowledge, there are multiple areas are there, like SDET, site reliability engineering, SRE, DevOps, engineering. All these things are there up for your upskilling, and you have to take up some of these additional skill set or knowledge, so that you can be relevant in the today's or in the future's workplace. But the objective of this crash courses, before if you jump onto the performance engineering, which is going to be take a lot of time, at least from a monitoring perspective, we wanted to our students to learn these things in a very quick manner, so that from there you can start your journey towards performance engineering, right? In your execution, at least some basic level of monitoring is very, very important. And the kind of monitoring we wanted to cover from this course will cover um, all the basics, from the shift left to shift right, from early performance to the actual performance during the performance testing and in the production as well, right? So that is what we wanted to cover as part of this crash course. So this is something which a performance tester can easily learn these tools, approach, so that even if you're not going to do a complete engineering, you can go and say that you're good in these aspect of monitoring. And this is part of the engineering as well. When you look into engineering, definitely a client side profiling or client side performance, server side monitoring, server side diagnostics using a tool like AppDynamics, intra level monitoring, synthetic monitoring, all these are part of the engineering as well. But here you're just going to monitor, observe. But in the engineering, you're also going to analyze, troubleshoot, provide recommendation. That is the difference. One is more in terms of observing things, right? What is observing in my server? What I'm observing in my JVM? What I'm observing in my client side? What is happening in my production? So observability or observing things, monitoring things is one aspect. That is what we wanted to cover. And later, if you wanted to go into the engineering, then with these data, with this observation, how are you going to infer something out of it, or are you going to analyze and provide recommendation? That is going to be engineering. But with this crash course, what we want to do with here is so this is a very quick summary of this the course detail, right? The sessions which we are going to have it next Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be around 4.5 hours, probably. So what we want to cover is one, from the client side perspective, the client side monitoring, from your as an end user, right? As an end user, when you look into when you launch a website, things like your load time, time to first paint, time to first byte, there are certain important client-side metrics that are monitored for every your client-facing or end-user-facing websites, right? So we'll try to look into those client-side monitoring using the developer tools, and also we'll also look into some of the way we can optimize the web page as well. This is something we'll do it in the pre-prod environment or performance environment before it goes to production. But when it goes into a production, there's something called synthetic monitoring. So synthetic monitoring is proactive monitoring of your websites to measure your performance as well as to measure your availability, whether my performance is good, whether my server is available, whether my application is available. Before an actual user is going to complain saying there is a slowness or my server is not, my application is not available, it is giving server not responding or something kind of a message, right? Before they actually observe it, how can we proactively monitor using the synthetic monitoring tools? So that is something going to be more from a production perspective. For that, we will be using the Dynatrace. So probably I'll also show you quickly on the Dynatrace what we will be looking into it. Okay, so all these tools, right? Say for example, for synthetic monitoring, we'll use Dynatrace. For infra level monitoring, right? For your server, we'll be using something called Telegraph, InfluxDB, and Grafana or Chronograph. And then for application level monitoring, your JVM monitoring, and then response time diagnostics, right? We will be using the AppDynamics. Again, for Jmeter based load test, right? To monitor your Jmeter test, we'll be again using the Grafana kind of a tool. All these tools, whatever we are going to use it during the session, you will be able to practice on your own whenever you get time. Everything you will be things are either open source or the cloud version is available for you as a free trial. Say AppDynamics and Dynatrace, absolutely you can practice on your own. Okay. Similarly, your Telegraph Influx is open source, which you can do it on your own. So which means if you want to really focus on monitoring, if you want to learn it after the sessions are over, you can easily practice. And whatever artifacts that is required, right? Jmeter scripts or sample application, web application, I'll give it. You can install it in the Tomcat and you can monitor it using AppDynamics. You can create the synthetic monitoring scripts and run it in the Dynatrace. All these things you can definitely do it on your own. And then during the session, I'll tell you how to configure it, how to set up all these tools as part of the session itself. Okay, so whatever we are going to learn, you will be able to practice it. It's not that I'm going to use a licensed tool which you will not be able to practice. Yes, Dynatrace is a licensed tool, AppDynamics is a licensed tool, but they provide the trial license for you to use it for a certain period. Okay, so for example, this is a synthetic monitoring or in Dynatrace. Okay, so I have logged in with the trial licenses. I have created few synthetic monitors under the digital experience. Okay, and setting up these things I'll cover it anyway during these sessions. But as I said, both Dynatrace and the AppDynamics. For example, here if you see here, this AppDynamics is currently monitoring my e-library application, which is running in my local. So this is my local Tomcat server. Here I'm running a small test using the Jmeter script. Okay, and then the data is getting connected from this Tomcat to AppDynamics. Okay, so you will be able to do a similar setup and then look into the business transactions of your. For example, I'll just go to my e-library application, which we use it during the session as well. Okay, maybe I think it was throwing some Java if space problem. So I'll kill my Tomcat. Okay, and then restart my Tomcat. Just give me 1 second. So the thing what I wanted to convey is whatever we are going to learn, like AppDynamics, what we'll do is for AppDynamics session, we will try to understand how we can connect your locally running Java application with your AppDynamics, which is running in the cloud. and also we try to learn how we are going to set up this AppDynamics configuration with the Java application. And then we'll run a small test and then monitor the test in the AppDynamics. We'll look into the how to monitor the heap, how to monitor the GC, how to take a heap dump, how to look into a response time, how to diagnose if there's a response time problem, how to diagnose a response time problem, how to set some alerts, how to look into the DB calls, SQL calls, how to look into the third-party external calls. All these things will be try to have a completely practical session. Okay, everything is going to be practical. Around 75% is going to be practical. Because we are going to have a tool, we have a required application. So everything we have it to do it practically. Again, and also we'll use the Jmeter for running a few small loads so that we'll be able to see the real data in the AppDynamics. For example, if you see there's a login transactions, and then if you go to TS and nodes, we'll be going and looking into the JVM level data like your GC or heap. So all these things we'll be looking into it in detail. Okay, database calls, remote services, third-party calls, diagnostics. All these things are going to be part of the application monitoring AppDynamic session. Okay. So from synthetic monitoring is what I was showing you this Dynatrace cloud instance. So again, we'll look into how to set up the Dynatrace and then how to create these synthetic scripts. Okay, so synthetic scripts are like UI-based scripts, which we will be creating it on the fly, right? Unlike your LoadRunner scripts or Jmeter scripts, you need to record and correlate all these things, right? But this is going to be a UI-based script, which we will be using it directly, creating it directly in the Dynatrace UI. Okay, and we will see how to create those scripts, and also we'll be running it those to get a end user response time. So for example, it is going to provide you the availability percentage, what is the downtime, and the response time problem from a client side perspective, right? All these things we will be looking into it. Okay, so the first day probably we'll be looking into the client side monitoring. How to measure the load time, page size, your time to first paint, time to first byte, all the client side measurement, and also we'll be looking into some of the recommendations as well. So probably I'll open the some of the optimization, right? We'll also look into how to optimize your end user response time, how to optimize your web page. Certain technique also we will look into it. Again, since it's a crash course, we'll try to cover whatever that is something best you can get out of it. Okay, let it load. Meanwhile, yeah, the server is started, so this will also should work. So the sample war file, as part of the artifacts, right? We will provide you all that is required for you to practice on your own. Okay, like the Tomcat, I'll upload it. Your war file that you have to deploy it, I'll upload it, and I'll also tell you how to do this as well during the session. And then the Jmeter scripts. Only thing you wanted to set up is your all the softwares, right? Dynatrace you have to set up, AppDynamics you have to set up. I'll show you how to set up anyway during the session. So Dynatrace, AppDynamics, all the tools, whatever we are going to use it, you have to set it on your own. Artifacts like Jmeter scripts or some of the configuration files, Telegraph configuration files, all these things I'll provide you using the Google Drive. Whoever is going to get registered, they will get access to the Google Drive to download these artifacts. Okay, so this is a sample e-library application, and I'll log into this. Yeah, so a Java application which has a login, and then once you log in, you'll have functionality like add librarian, view librarian, logout. So these functionalities is what we will try to probably in the script. We will be using those transactions to run a small test so that you can monitor those in the AppDynamics, right? Your CPU, your heap utilization, your GCs, All these things will monitor. So to do a real time monitoring and look into all the data, that is why we need a sample application server, which is I'm running it in my local, and I'm running a small test to so that you get the proper data points in your AppDynamics. Okay, and for Dynatrace, we will create the scripts on the fly. Since it's a synthetic monitoring, single user monitoring, we'll be just creating a script on the fly in the Dynatrace, and then we'll be executing it to look into the statistics and the end user performance and availability. Okay, and for the infra level monitoring, so when I say infra level monitoring, right, you have application which will be running in a Tomcat, and that the Tomcat will be available in a Linux machine or in your Windows machine, with a physical machine, right? So first thing from a monitoring perspective is your infra level monitoring, your infrastructure, your Windows machine or Linux machine. You need to know overall what is your server is performing in terms of CPU, in terms of memory, in terms of your network utilization, in terms of disk utilization. So traditionally, we used to use this your perfmon or top command in Linux, vmstat, iostat, those kind of command line utilities, which we will be using it to get the CPU, memory, disk utilization, everything. Right? But it is going to be a lot of manual work, a lot of tedious work, where you have to log into every mission, run these commands, take it in the Excel, and then plot the chart. All these things are going to be very, very difficult, time consuming. So with the open source options available, where Telegraph is a agent which will collect the data from Linux, from Windows, it will collect all the CPU, memory, your disk utilization, everything. It will collect from your machine, and then you have an InfluxDB which is going to store this all the collected data, and then through Grafana or Chronograph, you can visually look into the server statistics. If you have 10 servers, you have 10 load generators, all these machines, CPU, memory, disk utilization, everything you can monitor from the single UI. Right? It's an open source web-based infra monitoring, which you can definitely use it wherever possible. This open source option is going to be a very, very easy and very effective way of monitoring your infrastructure. Okay. Yeah. So the second day, the first day is going to be client-side performance, client-side analysis, and synthetic monitoring. Second day is going to be your infra monitoring using the Telegraph Influx, and then we'll go into the application monitoring using AppDynamics, where we'll be looking into the business transactions, JVM level monitoring, database third-party calls, alerts, response time diagnostics, all these things, plus how to configure your AppDynamics with your Java application. That as well, we will look into it. Okay, and finally, as I was mentioning, Jmeter, right? Unlike LoadRunner or Performance Center, Jmeter don't have any user interface to do a live monitoring. If I want to know how many users have loaded, what is my hits per second, what is my throughput, how many transactions pass, how many transactions failed, what's the response time, all this live monitoring, I cannot do it in Jmeter. Okay, like LoadRunner or Performance Center, it doesn't have an UI. So now the best practice is to run the Jmeter in the command line. Okay, so only after the test is completed, you will be able to get a report, which is not always ideal way to do it, right? So the ideal way is you have to monitor the test. So we will try to see how we are going to monitor it using, there are listeners available which we can configure in Jmeter, and then we can create dashboards in Grafana to have a live load test monitoring. Okay, so all these things are very much very basic things, but very effective, and something been used in most of the project in current workplace. Okay, so on top of your performance testing, where you do a scripting, execution, and reporting, if you can go and say that I know client-side monitoring, I have done synthetic monitoring using Dynatrace, I have monitored my application, I've done the diagnostics using AppDynamics, and then I have used open source monitoring for infra with Telegraph, and I also know how to do a live load test monitoring for Jmeter. We can go and say all these things I have learned and I have practiced on my own. Definitely, when you appear for an interview or go to another project, definitely you will be easily getting differentiated from other people who just know scripting and execution. Okay, so for that, once you learn this, at least once, if you can practice on your own, then you can definitely go and confidently say that even though I haven't done this thing in project, I have learned and I have done everything hands-on. I have done hands-on AppDynamics configuration and the AppDynamics monitoring and diagnostics of response time problem, etc. I have done synthetic monitoring using Dynatrace on my own. I have configured the InfluxDB Grafana with Jmeter, InfluxDB with Telegraph for infra-level monitoring. I know client-side performance, client-side profiling, using developer tools. So if you're going to claim all these things confidently, definitely you will have an edge over the other people who just know testing or scripting or execution. Okay, so in that perspective, that is objective of this crash course as well, right? Within those 4.5 hours, we wanted to give you the best from a monitoring perspective. Okay, and yeah, the sessions are going to be again. This is going to happen next or coming Saturday and Sunday between 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on both the days. It can extend depending upon how the sessions are going to be conducted on that particular, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes it can extend, depending upon the questions, clarifications. Okay. Yeah, so I'll take a pass here, guys. If any of you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or feel free to ask in the unmute and please ask the questions.
Yeah, hi, this is Narendra.
Yeah, please.
Actually, how many days we need to complete this? Like you said that you Saturday and Saturday you will complete this sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will take
Saturday
only
and
2
Sunday.
days and it will be extended.
No, it won't extend. It won't extend. Definitely, it won't extend because it's a crash course and it's planned. We have already done this multiple times, so it won't extend for sure.
Okay. Okay. Then I will contact with that person, whichever you contact with.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I will contact the person. You already displayed my contact.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
See, this is a crash course, weekend crash course, and it is structured in such a way that it will get completed in 4.5 hours maximum, but yeah, within Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir,
And the video, right? We'll be recording the entire sessions both Saturday and Sunday, and the video will be available for everybody who is going to get registered, and they will have the access to the videos. There's no limit. You will have an unlimited time access to those videos, so that even if you wanted to play it back, listen it back, you will have that complete access to the recorded videos.
Okay.
Sorry, my name is Shashidhar. I joined little late. Just I want to know what are the highlights? In the sense are you going to take another session or is it when will be the next session?
No, actually the session is going to start on this is the weekend crash course. Okay. And today is more of a introduction to tell what we are going to cover, what is the session is all about. The actual course is going to happen on next coming Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be 4.5 sessions of crash course covering all these topics. That is the plan. So next coming Saturday and Sunday, totally 4 to 4.5 hours. Saturday 2 hours, Sunday 2 hours is the plan to cover these topics. Is that clear?
Yeah, that is clear.
But do you also cover the other tools? I mean, besides Dynatrace and AppDynamics?
Yeah.
Another question: do we have any free tools for client-side monitoring?
Okay, for your first question, yes, we will cover AppDynamics from application monitoring and diagnostics. We will cover Dynatrace from a synthetic monitoring perspective. For client-side monitoring or client-side performance, developer tool. There are commercial tools available as well. Okay, like Rigor is one of the client-side performance or client-side profiling tool. There are multiple tools available, but mostly the common tool that we use in most of the projects are the developer tools. Chrome developer tool to look into the load time, look into the page size, to look into whether the caching is applied or not, to look into whether the
Lighthouse.
minification or not. So it's a developer tool is what we'll use it.
Okay. Something like Lighthouse.
See, Lighthouse is an extension of your developer tool where you get a report, right? You can generate a report which will provide you a couple of more metrics and some kind of a recommendation. You can also use Lighthouse, but the most simple and effective way is to use the developer tool, because Lighthouse will not work for all the pages. Okay, Lighthouse will work only for the landing pages. Wherever the page which is going to have you're going to type user ID and password and click login. Okay, and then you get your own page. For those kind of a page, Lighthouse will not provide you the report, because the Lighthouse will just go and refresh the page and then provide you the report. Okay, so Lighthouse for the landing pages, yes, you can use Lighthouse, but the developer tool, network tab, and the console where you can type in some of the JavaScript APIs are the best one, simplest one, and the best one to do the client-side performance. So that is what we will cover. We will look into some of the print APIs and navigation API and developer tool within the developer tool as part of the client-side performance.
So, sir, final question: are these developers tools that you are talking about are they open source or commercial tools?
Yeah. It is in Chrome, right? It is available in Chrome itself. So see, the developer tool is open source. Telegraph Inflict Grafana is open source. Dynatrace and AppDynamics is not open source, licensed, but for your learning, you can use it. Trial licenses are available. You can definitely use it. I'll tell you how to do it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
In this, you can cover all these things now,
Yeah,
like Dynatrace and AppDynamics. You will cover all these things now.
I have one more
Yeah.
question.
Say,
I have one more question.
yeah. Yeah.
After,
Good.
so you will be like teaching how to identify the performance issues during end user monitoring, right? So
No. See, no. There are two aspects. Identifying the problem and resolution is part of the engineering. Here it is more in terms of monitoring. See, with AppDynamics, we will go a little bit into that as well. See, the response time is high. I'll tell you in AppDynamics how to diagnose that response time problem, how to identify which method is taking time or which database query is taking more time. That we will cover it. But that is from the AppDynamics perspective. But we will not go something beyond that from where engineering will come into picture. Okay. Similarly, for client side as well, when the response time is high or when the your page size is heavy, I'll tell you what are the important engineering techniques which we can look into it to optimize those areas. So we'll not go into the troubleshooting mode or resolution mode. More from the monitoring, observing the crash course is all about.
So I'm having very little experience in monitoring of the pages, in the sense using developer tool and using Lighthouse. Say, I know like what it tells is it tells about your CSS page issue, those kind of things it will highlight. But after that, I was not sure like what to do to resolve those issues, like whom do we contact and what are the next steps. That like I was not very sure on that. So will you be like telling how to resolve those things also?
No. See, that's why I said I'll cover it a bit, but definitely resolving the problem is not the objective of this course for sure. So if that is what you're looking for from a resolution, from an engineering perspective, we have some detailed code from where performance engineering sessions are there. Here, as I mentioned in the slide number 4, right, optimization technique, I'll cover certain optimization. Say if we are how to reduce your response time or how to reduce your overall page size. There is something called minification. We will look into how whether the JavaScripts are minified or not. Whether your is there a way to combine a couple of style sheet and JavaScripts? Is caching is applied or not? Is compression is applied or not? Certain things I'll cover it, but not in a detailed way because within 4 to 4.5 hours the objective is only on monitoring, not the resolution. That's the extension, right? In the beginning, as I said, to get into the engineering is where you will troubleshoot, you will identify problems, root cause analysis, all these things. uh, Before that, there is something called monitoring. That is what we are going to cover it here. Okay, and there's one more question.
It's a general question. It's like my understanding is all this the CSS, those things will come from the cache, right? So do we need to really look into that the front end kind of like why it is taking time? Because I know like all those things, it will come from the cache, and the cache is like the one time activity, right? Like first time it will be slow, and later on if it comes from cache it will be faster. So do we need to look into the front end for performance testing? I'm from a performance testing background. That is the reason like
Yes.
it came to my mind.
No, absolutely, it is important. See, what about the first time user?
Okay.
That it is still going to impact it, and not always you're going to keep everything in cache. See, for example, you're going to access your HDFC net banking or Bank of America net banking or Amazon.com. You might be restarting your machine, you might be deleting your cookies and cache every now and then. And from our perspective, even for the first time user also should have a very good experience. Number one, that is why we need to look into it. And then from a caching also, it is not always caching is sorry, there's some problem with my internet. It got disconnected and just now connected. So what I was explaining is, yes, the client side performance is definitely important, because whatever we do from a load testing, it's going to make sure that JVM or the server is going to withstand the memory, withstand the load, right? But when you load your website in the Chrome or Firefox, there can be definitely a difference between response time, what you might have observed in Jmeter versus whatever you're going to observe it in the Chrome, right? So you need to validate the client side performance to make sure that your user are going to be satisfied. Okay, there's one more question. What is the difference between infra monitoring and server-side monitoring? Okay, see, at your backend, you have infra, right? You have missions running where you, in the Windows machine, Linux machine, in which you will be running your app servers like your JBoss or Tomcat, in which your application will be deployed, right? So when we say application monitoring, it's purely your say from a Java perspective, it's a JVM monitoring what happens within your application. Infra monitoring is your server, your physical machine, right, or your virtual machine, your Linux or Windows at OS level. Overall, your mission, what is the CPU, what is the memory, what is the discretization. For example, in my laptop, right, my laptop is having multiple applications. GoToMeeting is one application. I have a Tomcat running. So I want to measure my laptop. What is my CPU, memory, discretization of my laptop? It has to be good because the laptop is where my Tomcat is running. If my laptop is running out of a disk, every application is going to be slow. So I need to monitor my laptop. Plus, I need to monitor my Java application which is running in the Tomcat. So difference between server side and infra side is server side is nothing but this whatever the app running in Tomcat I will monitor. Whatever this Tomcat is running in my laptop, right? So the laptop itself I want to monitor it as well. So that's the difference between infra monitoring and server side monitoring or the app monitoring. Okay. Fine, guys. Any other questions? See, if you have any, we have, I think, a few more days for registration, right? So, if you have any questions with respect to the registration, you can reach out to the Kumar sir, who is admin in that WhatsApp group as well. And if you have any questions around the course content and the session details, you can also drop a note in the WhatsApp group. I will be answering you if there is any other question tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay. So for any registrations, you can reach out to Kumar sir. Any other session related details, you can just put a message in that group, and I'll be happy to answer it.
Yeah, one more question. This end user monitoring differs in different devices, right? So if you take mobile, it is different, and the desktop, it is different. And will you like explain on different devices also?
I will explain the concepts definitely. So when you say Amazon.com, you're going to install, when you're going to open the Amazon.com in your laptop, in your Chrome. That is one end user experience, right? Same, you can open your Android mobile and you can launch the Chrome there, and you will be looking into the Amazon.com's. You can launch Amazon.com from your mobile as well, right? So for the browser-based application, from a testing perspective, to look into all these page price and then look into the your load time, all these things, you can test it from your Chrome itself by the simulated option. You don't need a physical device to test it. But whereas if it comes to native app, you might have Amazon app itself, you might have from a Play Store, right? That is something entirely different. The approach is different. I can probably tell you what would be the approach, but I'll not be going in depth into the mobile native app analysis. But definitely I can tell you how it will be done. But what we will be covering is your browser-based application performance.
Okay.
And more from the there are multiple devices, multiple browsers, right? Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Android, iOS, iPad. Normally, when it comes to, if at all the team wanted to really understand the end user experience across devices, then there are cloud-based tools available for the cross-browser testing. SOS Labs are there, Perfecto are there, where you can do it for multiple devices and multiple Chromes. Yeah, I can answer those in detail, but yeah, in short, is there are cloud-based tools available if you want to really go for variety of devices. But if you want to stick with just single user client-side profiling for mobile browser and desktop browser, we can do it in the developer tool itself from your laptop, from your desktop browsers. There are simulated mobile options available where you can repeat the same testing activity with a normal desktop browser and the emulated mobile browser also.
Okay.
Okay, fine guys. Okay. Is there any other question from any others? Fine. Okay, guys. I'll stop here. If you guys have any questions, as I said, you can drop a message in the group. And for registration, you can reach out to Kumar sir. Okay. Yeah, we'll meet you next week. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Satish.
Thank you. Bye-bye.